What's up guys, it's Kyle here at Laser Everything, and today we're going to be doing something that the community has requested of us over the last couple of years, and it's to take a look at a very specific brand of fiber laser. We're going to be digging into the Cloudray fiber laser. We'll get into the details in just a moment, but if you're excited to check it out, hang tight because we're getting started right now. So first things first, I do want to share that Cloudray did send this laser over for review. Now, what does that mean exactly? It means they know they're getting our unbiased opinion, and I want you to know that too. Ultimately, whatever comes out of that box, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, whether I like it, whether I don't, you're going to know my exact thoughts and opinions and why. Ultimately, here at Laser Everything, we don't post anything we don't personally agree with, and that stands true for everything we post, including reviews. So at the end of the day, nobody gets to pick what we say except for us. So as I mentioned, we will be digging into this Cloudray fiber laser. Now, it's not just any fiber laser. This is a little different than anything we've ever touched on the channel so far. This is the Cloudray QS-50 LiteMarker Pro. That is essentially a 50-watt fiber laser, but in this case, very specifically, it is a Raycus-based source. So we've had a 30-watt Raycus-based source with the Makira that we've taken a look at before. This is the first 50-watt. We've discussed on the channel before some differences between the sources. Now in this case, it is using a frequency range that we're not really accustomed to since mostly what we use is JPT sources. So it is a 50 to 100 kilohertz range. Now that can be seen as limiting, and we're going to put that to the test. Without much ado, we're going to go ahead and move on to checking out this machine. So it looks like they took some very good care of how this was shipped. I really like the fact that this is wrapped in plastic, and it looks like a lot of the big components here are plastic wrapped too. We got a Cloudray box with no label, so let's open that up, see what that is. Some white gloves here, an RS connector cable, and we got a little mini disc. Let's see what this is. So just drivers for the RS-232. We got Cloudray glasses case, got some laser glasses. We got a nice thick power cable, 2-pin foot switch, business cards, it looks like maybe a 50 pack, some testing materials, USB flash drive, packing list. So this is all good to know, so you can make sure you have everything that you should, and a test report. Interestingly of note, I do see the RS-232 cable is included, so it looks like that's going to be included on all of their machines if that's the case, and if that's the case, then that's fantastic. I would really like to see more manufacturers including that, so that is a kudos to Cloudray on that. This looks like it's just a little test parameter. I'm really glad they gave us an actual name brand USB flash drive. This is a hefty guide here. I am thoroughly impressed by this. And you got some stickers. So already I'm excited. This is looking like a really good beginner use case already, just based off of the documentation that's coming. We got a tower lock key, USB cable, a little label tag, our Allen keys, 2 little baby screwdrivers, and some bolts. Let's go ahead and pull out the platform first. So we got our plate, and we're gonna pull the tower out. So I actually need to pull out the bolts so that we can bolt down the tower. There's 3 different size bolts in here. The big bolts go to the tower, the base. So if you're following along at home, we have the base plate first. We put our tower in, and now we need to put the bolts in to hold that tower down. And we do that before we put weight on it so that it doesn't tip off the workbench or your desk, and you don't accidentally drop that laser path and break a lens or something. Okay, so our tower is secured. So next thing we need to do is we need to get this laser path opened up. So we want to remove this from the crate without twisting it too much or causing a problem. I don't believe we have enough to make it to the tower from here just yet. So we need to get the tower here a little bit closer. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap that. So what we're gonna do here now that the tower is a bit closer, I'm gonna get a laser path, that's what this is called, facing the correct direction and up on the tower. And then we're gonna get that bolted into place so that it's up and out of our way and safe. Another thing you can do to help you get set up just a little bit easier is get these guide rails here on the bottom side of the laser path What you can do is you can space them out so that they're roughly in place. You can slide the whole path back and forward until you find the bolt and get it into the right place. Just don't screw them down all the way until you have all 4 bolts in. However, to do that trick, you do need to have them somewhat centralized on this rail. Now, for affixing the laser path to the tower, we're going to be using the skinniest of the bolts. The remaining 4, the middle-sized ones, are actually for affixing things to the work plate. So for reference, the tower bolt is 6 millimeters. Now we're moving on to the laser path bolt, which is a 4 millimeter hex size. From there, this tower is going to go up on the bench. Best thing you can do is lay it on its side. Very gently and carefully pull it out. All right, so we have our laser tower here up on the workbench, and we have our laser path here that we need to go ahead and connect. Another tip when you're getting this assembled is have the tower up high enough so you can peek your head under and feel for those bolts to see where they're at, and have enough height so that you can get the screws in comfortably. You don't want it so high if you're working with a real tall tower that putting it up there could cause it to go off balance and you not have a good handle on it. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing a quick little basic alignment with the bolts up to the side. So we got our first bolt started there, 2 bolts down, and 3 for 4. And another tip is if you're having a hard time aligning that last bolt, loosen them all up so you can slide the laser path back and forth, and use your phone in selfie mode to get that bolt lined up, which leaves the last 4 bolts here. These are probably going to be used for affixing things to your bed. We do have one more box here. So we got our rotary, got some extra teeth for the chuck, and we actually have some nice longer bolts for the rotary. And our rotary is a standard 4-pin, which is fantastic because this is probably going to be cross-compatible with a lot of other devices. So we got the Cloudray here set up. I'm happy to say, at least on the packing list, of the 18 items, all 18 arrived, which also includes the hex wrench. It also includes the bonus add of the RS-232 cable, which is great. Normally, I haven't had a machine come with that yet, so that is a step above and beyond in my opinion. In terms of the fit and finish initial impressions, it looks like a pretty good build. I don't have any outright complaints about how it was packaged, shipped, or what appear to be the fit and finish. One thing I am going to do, it's something we do with all of our reviews, is I'm going to go ahead and dig into this machine. We're all going to take a look and see what it looks like. While I am cracking into the case to be thorough, I am going to go ahead and time-lapse through a lot of this and maybe share some close-up shots. The intent of this isn't to cover every possible thing now. This is just a first look and I am trying to be thorough, but we will have future updates. If you feel like I missed anything or if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below and I will get back to you or include that information in the future updates I do. Now, if you ever need to open a similar style clamshell case like this for a laser, there's usually 2 or 3 bolts that go across the top and the bottom of both sides. Now you can simply undo the top bolts on both the front and the back, and the top panel should pull right off, should release. That will allow you to slide both side panels off as well, usually, and that should give you access to 99% of the machine without having a huge mess and panels everywhere. Of note, there is a warranty if removed sticker, and while I'm not digging into that whole or debate or topic, I did ask them about that, and they let me know that actually carries the ID number for the machine itself. It's used to reference the warranty information, and that said, the expectation of the laser owner having to eventually service and troubleshoot the machine if something goes wrong, I can live with that answer of the sticker not being tied to the warranty itself and just the ID you need to pull up that information with them. The wiring itself is very clean, labeled, well organized. There aren't really any rat's nests or wires or anything like that hanging around, and everything is fairly easily identifiable and sorted. Everything looks to be assembled with servicing in mind, so if something does go wrong with any of the components, front panel switch, the relay for the controls for the machine and power, it looks mostly to be modular, with mostly simple plugs and disconnects to swap over anything that might have failed, so you don't really have to worry about dealing with too many individual wires or anything like that in the case of a failure, unless it's directly to a power supply, which should be a relatively easy swap anyway. Now they do note on their website, as part of one of the updates of going from the normal to the Pro series, which is what they're on now, it appears that the non-light version of the EasyCAD 2 card is now being used in all of their Pro line. So that said, I did validate that this appears to be a non-light card, so that is fantastic. The only other thing I do want to mention while I'm in the internals here is that they also seem to have mostly used Meanwell power supplies. There is an exception there where there's one Cloudray power supply and one ZBTK, which appears to be for the Galvo head. And I do recall some of the older models, not the new Pro line, but the older models that some of the members of the community have sent in did not have Meanwell power supplies. So if that's a change based on customer experience and feedback, then that is a welcome change and good on them for the update. Power supplies in machines like this are not something to skimp on, and in the current configuration, it looks good. All right, so we got everything wired up, all cable managed, all plugged into our little system. The next thing to do is get this USB drive out and import our EasyCAD things into LiteBurn. I could test it out in EasyCAD, but honestly, I don't really want to swap back the driver right now. It's going to get used on LiteBurn one way or another, so that's where I'm going to start my testing. I am going to switch back to EasyCAD just to give their base config a try, but in the meantime, I will be importing their EasyCAD config into LiteBurn as a base, and we're going to see what happens. So here we are in LiteBurn. We're in our USB drive, RS-232 file, videos, operation manual, and software. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one, drop it onto my desktop. So we got that zip file unzipped, and we're going to go ahead and open up our EasyCAD folder. I'm going to just import the generic config for this laser. So let's go ahead and load things up here. So we got LiteBurn, we got devices, and as you can see, we have a lot of lasers here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create manually. We're going to scroll down just a little bit to CZ Fiber, import EasyCAD config, and we're going to navigate to our folder with our file in it. And we have two options here, Mark Config 0 and Mark Config 7. Mark Config 0 is usually what loads in EasyCAD when the software isn't connected to a device. Mark Config 7 is usually the one that is related to the config of the actual laser. So I would suggest using Mark Config 7, and let's see what it's set up for. Fiber, Radius, 200mm field size, so good so far. 50 kilohertz min, max is 100, so I'm glad to see that the frequency is actually set properly. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. We're going to label this and finish. So as you can see, we are all set up here, and let's get the laser plugged in and turned on. First thing I'm going to do, just so I have a functioning set of starter settings, I'm going to go to the lasereverything.net site, and if you didn't hear, we have a free starter set of settings for anybody who wants to get started. Big thanks to the LMA members who make everything we do possible. Thanks to their support, we were able to share these starter settings with everyone that we generated, and Alex worked very hard on. So I'm going to go ahead and download the free laser fiber parameter library. There's also CO2 gantry and CO2 Galvo here, and in case that doesn't do everything you need as a starting set, there's also the community UV, CO2, and fiber databases. So now that we have that downloaded, I've switched over to Radius QB, and it has already identified that the laser is on, and we're going to hit load. And we're going to go ahead and find our fiber library for LiteBurn 50-watt machines with a 200mm lens, and we're going to load that up. So that's how you get your starter settings. Now, it may work for you, it may not work for you, it may require some tinkering and testing. So we got Cloudray test. We'll just test that out, see how it does. We're going to turn on bidirectional fill. All right, to the laser. Let's make sure we're in focus. All right, so we're over at the laser. We got our glasses. Don't forget to put these on. And we want to lower it down until the dots align with our material. So I have a nice piece of scrap here, and I'm just going to lower it down. All right, and let's get it framing. So we have an alignment laser, so that's fantastic. And next thing is we want to get our exhaust on, and we can hit run. we have a mark. Is it pretty? It's a little burned, but we can fine tune that later. Let's throw a card under here and we'll try something different. I've switched to our steel deep engrave setting. Let's frame that up. Well, that's it, guys. As you can see, we got our little test. So as a first look, I think we're looking pretty good. I'm definitely going to need to do some fine tuning because I warped that card pretty good, but so far I'm pretty impressed. So we're just getting into the closing thoughts here, and I just wanted to dive into a couple things. For starters, the RS-232 cable that came with the laser, I think that Cloudray deserves a kudos for that. At the end of the day, they're the only manufacturer that I've had an experience with, at least, that has included this in the box with the laser. Everything that they do in terms of customer service and support is based on teams. So if you purchase a laser on one marketplace, then the team that is specifically working on that platform is responsible for doing your support. And the only other thing I did learn as well is that you can actually custom order through their website. So if you need that level of customization that's available through other manufacturers, I just found out they offer that too through contacting them through their website service. So there's that. And my last point that I did want to discuss is the packaging. As you saw, it was super great. Everything was packaged well, and from the top down, everything was covered with foam, protected, and where necessary, it was covered in plastic wrap to hold everything together. Now, even with that good packaging, it did take a hit in the front during shipping, it appears, and there was a little bit of damage to the breadboard. Now, I don't fault Cloudray for that at all. It does appear to be a shipping problem. It looks honestly like somebody drove a forklift into the front of it and probably pushed it by the front of the box to move it around. Honestly, with it packaged the way it is, I think Cloudray did everything they could to keep it protected. The only thing they could really do beyond that is maybe use thicker plywood, but if it's taking damage as is, I think it's just negligence on the shipper's part, and there's not much they can do about it at that point. That's going to conclude it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed, smash that like button, get subscribed, hit the bell icon so you get notified when we do our next upload. If you want to check out this laser, I will leave an affiliate link in the description below. It does help support us, our team, and the channel and all the projects that we do, and at no additional cost to you. Have a great day, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.